Oh, hey, my name's Shay. I'm actually terrible at basketball, but I'm 5'10", I can dunk. That scared me. That was a bad ankle injury waiting to happen. I can do a few things, and there's a few reasons why. I think you should train a little bit differently than just doing gym and or running. Let's get into why. Okay, I don't even really play basketball. I train for track and field. I've gotten decent at sprinting and long jump. I'm not here to sit here and say like, oh, I'm gifted and whatever. That's not really what this is about. This is me trying to say, your life can be pretty cool if you just train to be a bit more athletic. So I think people don't really understand how trainable these things are. Like me dunking at 5'10", my standing vertical isn't crazy, but you know, if you have a bit of a lead in, there's a bit more tendon elasticity, muscle loading, technique, speed involved, and all these things are very trainable, and I think people miss that. Like, people might say, oh, you're just like good at that naturally. When I was 17, my long jump was 5:30, my 100 meters was like low 12 seconds. I coach 16-year-old girls who can do those numbers, so like, this is a very trainable thing. I'll get into exercises and maybe a draft program that you can follow if you want to be a bit more athletic, but just let's talk about what really happens. After high school, most people quit playing sport entirely, and then naturally this causes them to be a little less athletic. On the good side, people might go to the gym, they might do a bit of running, and you know, this probably won't make you that much more, say, athletic, but I'm not going to, bag it too much. Compared to the average person, this is so exceptional if you're still doing gym and running. Like, great for you. I'm not trying to knock that down. Like, if you look at the average person, they can't even run a kilometer or do 5 push-ups. Like, it's not pretty, dude. So those that do stay in shape when most people get out of shape, it's like, great, well done. You're in like a group of your own. It's a nice place to be. But then if you go one further and you train to be, maybe you're in shape already, then you train to be a bit more athletic too, things just get fun, okay? So I train for track and field, as I said, and that involves a lot of sprinting. A lot of the weight training that I do is lower body and, a lot of midsection strengthening. And you just move a lot better and you can, run well. I ended up playing a football game like a few weeks ago. I played a touch rugby game this week, ended up in a basketball game, and I'm not that good technically at those things, but you can just be decent just by being a bit more athletic. And as well, a big thing is a lot of adult experience. People are like, oh, I couldn't do that anymore, man, I'd get injured. If you train to be more athletic, there's a lot more tendon strengthening, and this can take a very long time. But once you do, your body is just way more resilient, and you can just do kind of whatever you want. It's quite hard to hurt yourself, which is a really cool place to be. That kind of really opened my eyes when I started watching some of the older, like, initial knees over toes guy stuff when he really broke into the scene. I was like, that's just so cool. He always called it bulletproofing. If you can move well and be athletic and just, it's quite hard to hurt yourself. It's just a good place to be. Like, who wouldn't want that, right? And as I said, you can just jump into any sort of physical endeavor, play a sport. Oh, can you help me lift this thing into a truck? I got it, dude. I can step up on one leg. I'm pretty good at that. It's just fun. Everything is just, you're capable. And I don't know why more people don't talk about that. And this leads me into the training portion, right? And I believe that most people should train a bit more like a sprinter. Now, I'm not saying you have to, go all in and try and be as fast as possible, but if you train a bit more like a sprinter, if you look at a sprinter, they, lean, decent musculature, they can run fast, they can jump, they're somewhat fit, their bodies are resilient. Like, it's just a good place to be. They're strong still. Like, who wouldn't want this, right? Also, big glutes. Like, I'm not trying to be sus here, but dude, when you see a guy with big glutes, it's like that guy's looks like a gorilla. It's just look. Okay. So if we start with some of the gym stuff, right? I really believe that more guys, if you have a strong gym base, you can get into single leg eccentric movements. This changed the game for me. Like, when I was in university in the earlier years and, squatting heavy, trying to get better at athletics, my squat going from like 150 kilos to like 200 kilos didn't really change the way I moved at all. But getting into some of these single leg eccentric movements, for example, we might do, take any movement. You can do one leg on the way down. So let's take a RDL with a bar. One leg on the way down and then explode up with 2 legs. this eccentric motion is going to recruit the most type 2X muscle fibers. And these are cool because these are the, athlete muscle fibers, really explosive. They're also really energy inefficient, which means higher calorie output, which is pretty cool. This is why I believe most sprinters end up being quite lean, because the energy output is so high. Additionally, working the single leg just changes the way your body moves. Your core and your midsection gets very stable, and you learn to work well off of one leg. And why is that important? Well, most things you do are off one leg. You're running, maybe you're carrying something. It's one leg at a time, right? So who wouldn't want to be strong at that? And trust me, the hypertrophy gains too, if you're into that, pretty good. Like, I had to throw out a few pairs of pants when I really got into this stuff. It's like, I cannot get these over my glutes anymore, dude. So maybe you start integrating some of that into your workout routine, and if you focus a bit more on lower body and trying to be more athletic, maybe superset some of those things with a basic plyometric for the most gains, you're going to start moving really well really soon. Next part is sprinting. Now, I've seen that stat everywhere. 95% of adults after 30 never sprint ever again. And this is quite interesting, right? I think people are afraid of injury because they haven't trained in a way to, bulletproof themselves. But you've seen those stats too. I've seen like 2,000% gains in growth hormone post-sprinting. I don't know if that's actually credible, but there's a lot of evidence to prove it's just going to be quite good for you as far as growth hormone and other metrics. Rhonda Patrick, who's like a very well-known and, I think quite smart dietitian and health expert, she's always going on about this. Not necessarily the sprinting, but really intense exercise can improve markers pretty much everywhere. It can even offset, a rough night's of sleep. So it's pretty cool, right? And the best way to run faster is just to sprint. No one does it. That's probably why you feel like you're slow. So if we put all this together and make like a rough program, if you do 2 days in the gym, you could do mostly the lower body stuff, integrate some of those single leg eccentric movements, and then you could maybe do some upper body. I think lats are quite important for running. There's one I do in the gym that's kind of like ego lifting. It probably looks like that, but I'm doing single arm lat pull downs, and I'm using some spinal flexion because that's kind of what you're doing when you're running. It probably looks like I'm just ego lifting, but it does work. I recommend doing a lot of glute work and lower back work. This helps your body be sturdy. You just move so much better. Like, I'm trying to spread the good news here, dude. Who doesn't want to move better? It just feels good. Everything feels good. Everything becomes more fun. So do that gym session, maybe 2 days a week, and I'll get into a third in a second. But next 2 days, you could do sprinting, maybe one. After you're recovered, after a rest day, do flat sprinting. Maybe you just do like 3 rounds of 3, 50 meters flat out on a track or maybe a flat field. Don't do that the day after weights because of injury risk. Maybe the other sprint day you could do some stair sprints and some hill sprints, get your body working, intense exercise. Another day you could do some general conditioning. Maybe you want to do, 8 by 200 meters on 2 minutes rest, something conditioning wise. So that's 5 days, 2 sprint, 2 gym, 1 longer conditioning. That leaves you with 2 days, 1 for rest and 1 to do, whatever you want to work more on. Maybe you just want to throw in an upper body day. That's fine. Maybe you want to do a bit more conditioning, a long run maybe. That's fine too. But trust me, if you're just a little bit bored with what you're doing as far as exercise, give this sort of thing a go for 1 to 2 months. I promise you, you're just going to feel so good with everything you do. It's really cool. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Let me know your thoughts below. I will see you in the next video.